All classes in Final Fantasy XIV are packed with unique skills that, most of the time, fit neatly in your rotation and can be easily understood. Today, though, let's look at 5 role actions for classes that are easily overlooked but make a big difference. Perhaps more misunderstood than overlooked, Arm's Length provides unbelievable utility in dungeons. It has 2 effects. 1, it nullifies most knockback and draw-in effects, and 2, slow 20% when the barrier is struck. It's that second effect that often doesn't get utilized, and probably because the wording is slightly vague. What that means is when an enemy attacks you while you're under the effect of Arm's Length, their action speed is reduced by 20%. When first reading the tooltip, it's understandable to think that it simply adds a heavy effect to their movement. It has much greater utility than that, though. By reducing an enemy mob's attacking speed by 20%, you're effectively reducing their damage by 1/5 for 15 seconds. In other words, it's like having another Rampart, which offers 20% damage reduction for 20 seconds, at your disposal. The value here really can't be overstated enough. The more damage reduction you apply consistently as a tank, the more your healer is free to do damage the quicker enemies die, which in the long run means you and everyone will have more resources available for every enemy encounter in the dungeon. And as it's on a 120-second cooldown, you can use it before and between all boss encounters in a dungeon and still have it available for each boss. Also, bonus, physical DPS have access to this skill as well. Don't underestimate the power of Arm's Length plus Bloodbath if you're a melee. You can very well save a team from wiping if the tank does in fact go down. Believe it or not, Sprint can be used for more than just moving quickly while pulling mobs in dungeons. You can argue it's actually a DPS tool in the right instances. Hear me out. In boss encounters, there will inevitably be large cleaves that you need to reposition to avoid. Now, this isn't as much of an issue for ranged fizz and melee classes, but as casters, it can be a lot of lost uptime. So, the quicker you can get from point A to point B, the sooner you'll be back to rolling your GCD. When you look at it in a single instance, one GCD may not seem like a big deal, but over the course of longer fights, this will add up and quickly. It is especially important in prog scenarios. Sometimes it's a single GCD that stands between a clear or wiping to enrage.
Right, come on.
Had everyone in that party missed even one more GCD throughout the encounter, that would have been a wipe. So give it a shot. When you see the boss's cast bar appear, weave in Sprint in between casts and then get moving. While you may not see it directly reflected in the form of something like a critical hit, its impact on the fight is immense. Swiftcast, for healers, is typically used in conjunction with Raise to get the fallen party members back into the action as quickly as possible, and that's a great use for it. But what we're talking about today is using it for an instant cast offensive spell. Similar to why Sprint is so important, anytime you have to reposition to avoid damage in a boss encounter, there is potential for a lot of lost uptime. With the use of Swiftcast, though, you can theoretically have 0 lost uptime as you can cast on the move. By the time your GCD rolls back around, you can be in position to avoid the damage and continue casting without missing a beat. Now, disclaimer, I really can only recommend this when the group you're with is comfortable in the encounter. In a prog setting, especially early on, having a quick res available for the sake of seeing further into the fight is far more important than getting an extra GCD in. But as the party settles in and is more consistent, an optimization like this can help meet DPS checks and potentially save the party from a wipe to enrage. Additionally, this can be handy during dungeon pools to cast on the move while the tank is gathering mobs. Same disclaimer here though, only use it when things are going smoothly. If you've already wiped and things seem to be on shaky ground, it may be best to have this ready to go for when things inevitably do go south. I'll be the first person to admit that I didn't use this for a long time when I first started playing. I'm not proud of it, but it's the truth. Its impact is huge though. Addle offers a 10% reduction on magic damage dealt and a 5% reduction on physical damage dealt. Feint is the reverse, reducing physical damage by 10% and magical by 5%. Its most common use will be boss and raid encounters. We've talked about progression scenarios a couple times, and this is no exception. When Extreme Trials and Savage Raids first release and everyone's item level is quite low, any extra mitigation on party-wide attacks goes a long way. That extra 10 or even 5% can save a party from a wipe and ease the burden on healers between mechanics. Don't do a lot of in-game content? This skill is still super valuable. In large dungeon pools, especially early on when there are less recovery and damage reduction options available, anything anyone can do to lessen the incoming damage towards the tank carries a lot of weight. Once the tank gathers a mob, use this on a hard-hitting or high-health target. It may only affect one enemy in the pack, but it is still a positive gain. Your healers and tanks will thank you. And if you're worried about clipping your GCD as a caster, a use of Swiftcast will let you create a window to weave this in. Last but not least, we have Leg Sweep and Low Blow. Both stun enemies, Leg Sweep for 5 seconds, Low Blow for 3, interrupting all actions for the duration. Any amount of time where an enemy is sitting around doing nothing instead of attacking is incredibly valuable, especially when patches first release and groups are running content at or just above item level requirements. With relatively short cooldowns, both skills can be used during every single pool of a dungeon. Now, this isn't applicable to dungeon pools if you happen to have a white mage in your group, as the enemies will become fully resistant to stun after the holy spam. But it can still be used to interrupt actions on certain bosses and enemies. Think party-wide terror or seduction attacks from dungeons like Siren Song C in Stormblood. It can take a while to begin to feel comfortable on any new class in Final Fantasy XIV. The road from 1 to 90 is just the beginning and is packed full of learning all of the moves for a class and how it operates in combat. Once you've hit your stride though, applying these 5 skills in the right situations will take you from good to great on the battlefield. Have a great time out there, and thanks for watching. To support the channel, like and subscribe below and turn on notifications to see when new content comes out. And comment down below, what class do you main and what's something you love about it? Until next time, I'll see you out there.